There you go.
Okay, so this talk is something that I share with the Elsevier, actually Relics designer. So, and I thought it could be really relevant for the topic of today. Just a few things about me. Laura, I'm a user experience designer for Mendeley, which is part of Elsevier. What I would like to share with you today, it's an experiment that we did of collaboration. So as the title says, basically how we use Miro to reduce the number of meetings to make the product design decision. And I'm gonna have a demo of how Miro looks like in case you haven't used it before, so that it would be like a demo session as well. But just I want to clarify first of all what I mean by cross-product design decision. So as a designer, we are often, what we need to do is we have complex problem to solve that require the input of different people and have impact on different product as well. And often they are almost like a tech debt with like a design debt as well, right? So they are difficult to untangle like a plate of spaghetti. So this is my metaphor. Sorry about the time if you're in UK and if you're hungry, but it's really complex, like really a plate of spaghetti, like you see here. So what were we doing before for addressing those issues? So typically, what we will do, we will just meet face to face many times with a series of workshop, and the interaction was mainly in real time. And once we will reach an agreement, we will go on Confluence and we will log our decision. The problem with this approach was that it would require lots of people to be in the same room at the same time. We are around 10 designers, for instance, and that was quite time consuming because there are many things to do. And especially now what we found because of the lockdown was really difficult to have the same people at the same time in the same room or even in the same Zoom call. As as you mentioned before, that was being on Zoom is quite time consuming and mentally it's quite hard to be to be concentrated for longer. So I thought about a different approach. I thought that it would be ideal to try out something that would not require a big group of people to be in the same room or the same Zoom call at the same time. So what I wanted to try out was an interaction that was mainly asynchronous. And the idea was to have a Miro board, a Miro board curated by one person, a facilitator. In this case, you will see it was me, that will prepare all the information needed to take a decision, organize it in a way that will be easy for the people to take a decision, drive the discussion on Slack, in the case that we did it, and only create and facilitate mini workshop only if needed. So the idea was really to minimize the real-time interaction. So that was the approach that I wanted to try. I try out this approach. The opportunity arose when we started to think about how to the misalignment with the article metrics. So what I'm showing now is how Mendeley looks like. So it's a Mendeley search page. And if you don't know Mendeley is basically a set of tools for researcher to find article, save article, and store article. So it's basically helps them to be stay up to date on their field. And when they search, basically they find list of articles with some numbers, and those numbers are article metrics. And the most popular one is the number of citations. So how often an article was cited. What we found out, there was some issue on the way they were displaying those numbers. So we had 6 alignment issues that we wanted to solve. One of them, for instance, was the fact that we were using a different number format in the Mendeley ecosystem. So in the search page, we were using, for instance, commas. In Mendeley profile, we were not using it. In Mendeley suggest we were doing something else. So And also we had a different format for when the metric were missing. Data sources were different. There was some problem with the label, tooltips were not consistent, some misalignment that it wasn't important for us to solve as a designer, but it wasn't maybe so important for other people. So it was difficult to find the time to work on it. So before showing the demo how I use the board of Miro, on Miro, I want to just to say a few things about Miro in case you haven't used it. So it's a tool that mainly is for real-time interaction. So in a sense, I would say that it's a shareable infinite board to collaborate in real time. The good things about it is that it's really powerful because it has many templates. So for instance, you can even run a retrospective, agile retrospective on Miro. They have a voting system, they have a timer and many different functionalities. So it's really great for real-time interaction. But the downside of it is that because it's an infinite board, it's an infinite canvas, people can get lost and don't know where to go, where to look at. And basically, before I started to structure the board to basically get people using the board, it was important to structure the board in a way that would be easier for people to understand where to look. So what I'm showing here is a representation of how I structure the Miro board. So there are two different ways of reading the Miro board, from the top to the bottom, this white line. It's a way of helping people to onboard on the use of the board. What is it all about? Why we are here to do what? What is the context? What do we need to discuss? Any link and people that are involved. And in orange, instead, from the left to the right, it's all about understanding the problem. So the first part is about framing the problem. What is the problem statement? Any research that could help the team to take a decision. Audit of where is the problem, what other competitors are doing. And then another area of solving the problem with a discussion, action, and decision. But now I'm gonna show you the Miro board, so we'll make it a bit more real for you what I'm talking about, because that was probably quite abstract. So this is a Miro board. So what you can see is that, as I mentioned before, is a shareable infinite canvas, so you can really zoom in and zoom out and explore it. But if you are new to the board, you really could get lost because you don't know where to look at. So the good things about Miro, that there are a couple of functionality that can help you to make the life of people who are on Miro for the first time easier. So you got this right side panel over here where you can summarize what you're trying to do. And then you can have links that go straight to a particular part of the board. So in this case, let's say that you're new to this board. If you click on it, there is an internal link, it gets you immediately on the starting board, basically, the first things you should look at. And another interesting feature of Miro is that you have this frame on this side, so you can basically structure the board in frames, almost like a presentation. And you can go through the frame in this way. So you can go to the introduction, the context to understand what we are here to do, the alignment issue, any links, themes, and then for each problem that you want to discuss with the team, so the one they want to discuss with the team, basically I had the problem statement that I mentioned before, the audit of where is the problem, the competitor at the website and what do they see, any desk research. So all the information to guide and help the team to take a decision without meeting in a Zoom call. And then the summary of the discussion that we had and the decision that we took and the next action. So now, just to make it a bit more clear, I'm gonna go through in more details on this issue that we discussed it. So the problem statement at the beginning was what we wanted to solve was the fact that on Mendeley, we had 3 different type of number format. And so it was inconsistent. The problem that we wanted to solve was inconsistency. In some places, we had the full number. In other places, we had comma. In other places, we had the K when there was a 1,000. So that was the issue. What I did to make it clear where was the problem, I did an audit of different places and color coded and give a number to the variation. And then summarize it in this table that I got really good feedback about it, because they mentioned it was quite easy for them to understand where was the problem and what they were, what option they were adopting. And then I did the same with other competitors. So what do they do? Here they have comma, here they have numbers. Okay, so, and then I also made like a summary of the desk research I did. So I look at other companies like Google and Microsoft. What do they do? And so I discovered that at Google, for instance, they mentioned that the use of commas in numbers is in accordance with American number, the formatting that is American. And that was an important information that I didn't know. And that drives our decision, because on Mendeley, we use we use like a copy that is American. And so that it makes sense to use the American number formatting as well. Other things I found was that we had actually a style guideline on how to use article metrics from another products, Cival. So, but that's something I found out only after we took this decision. So the discussion that we had to take a decision did happen on Slack, and we kind of reached an agreement of what we wanted to do. But because it was the first time I used this approach, I still did like half an hour conversation with the team where we discussed a bit more about the pro and cons ongoing of using the different solution. And also then I put here where did we save the in Confluence, where was documented the decision. So this structure is the one that I've used for different issues as well, but I don't want to get into the details of that. I just want to say a few things about this, the good things about this approach, that basically it does allow to have a memory of the information that we use to have a decision. And although puts a bit of require more effort from one person to collect the information, what it does is save time of the team, all team, because they don't need to meet in real time. So it's an approach that put out more effort on one person, but save time for the whole team overall. Now I just want to go back to the presentation, just share with you a few takeaways that I learned on this approach, that I'm still experimenting with it. And the most important things I found to be important is that it's important to plan the structure of the Miro board. So how do you want to share the information? Mainly because this approach is asynchronous, and so you are not there to support the other person, your team, in understanding the information. So it needs to be really clear. The structure of the information that needs to be there needs to be really clear. What was also useful was to involve other people from other product in the process. Just for this, I discovered that they were solving similar problem to what we were doing. So just to talk about it on Slack, just really share and make sure people know about it was useful. And also that it's important to share what you're doing and get feedback on the information that you're putting there, because yes, I'm the facilitator, I'm more on the design side, but there might be people that need information that they didn't think they did need. So it's good to collaborate on the process. And overall, that you need to be patient. Why? Because it takes time. You don't have half an hour people in the same room, and you need to wait until they reply to your Slack conversation. And what if you feel that you have cross-product issue that you want to address? How can you get started? Well, first of all, identify what are the product issue that you want to solve. Identify a curator. Make sure that you have a Miro board structure in the way that best suits your needs. Create a working group. In my case, I did it on Slack, but it could be on Team or another way. And try to set collaboration task that can be done asynchronous from the team that you're working with, and only do a real-time workshop with a small group of people if really needed. So that's all for me. This is really the approach of using Miro, and hopefully you find it useful. You want to try it as well to avoid meeting people on Miro, on Zoom.
Thank you very much, Laura. That was really interesting. It's good to see. I used Miro a little tiny bit on one thing to do a retrospective at one point, but that's my only use of it. So it's great to see it kind of what it can actually do for that. Yeah, anyone got any thoughts, questions for Laura on that? Your own experiences?
Who use Miro actually? Are you, Mike, the only one, or have you use it as well? Yeah.
Yeah, I use it all the time, if not every day. But yeah, it's a great tool.
Same here. Use it all the time.
And I really like your what you said about the real time or synchronous versus asynchronous aspects of working with people, right? Because I tend to always want to collaborate. So I can, it takes an effort for me to think, okay, that part can be asynchronous. So okay, let's not force people to be together. They can just think about it on their own, and then we come back. So so I did think about that before, but it's great to see other people too. So well done. But it forces me to think, okay, do we really need a meeting? Because maybe we can really do that separately. And then which aspect do we really need to talk about? So it makes me focus more about how to structure things like that. So
yeah, another thing that was quite interesting here is the fact of having a facilitator that drive the process. I've found that quite often, especially now in lockdown with this remote workshop, it's not ideal to collaborate because there is no person driving the conversation. Not even like you want to have a meeting with someone, but you don't write agenda. You invite people, there is no facilitator. A good facilitator skill are kind of missing. So that's an approach, something to think about it.
Yeah, I think one of the things I found with Miro, which connects to Amanda's discussion as well, is that it really allows people to drop in and drop out. That I've been on a Miro literally all day with people, but not necessarily the same people. So in the same page, but person X drops out for a meeting or whatever, or to pick up their kid, and because there's sort of this constant shared space that you can drop in and out of. I've really liked it.
Yeah.
And it's especially true, I guess, where when okay, we look at this, okay, we're working from home, but it's not really the right term, is it? Because I mean, we're separate physically, but we're also separate in time as well, because people will have adjusted to this very differently, right? I had friends or colleagues who would say, well, I'll work in the morning, but in the afternoon it's difficult because I've got to be with the kids. And then I did kind of the opposite. And so we were never together, right? At the same time. So it was really hard to just talk, right? So having a more asynchronous thing like that with tools like Miro and others is really useful.
Yeah. Thank you.
I just realized why you've made me, you guys just talking then and your presentation was I should have used it more. I can't believe that I haven't used Miro that much, really. I didn't really think about it, and I don't really know it. And so I've had to invent things in all sorts of ways that maybe it would have been a better thing to use, really.
They seem to be throwing out features really fast as well. So the pro version with video sharing and integrations with all the things. So there's, every time I look at it, I go, oh, that's new.
Right. So
I'm not trying to say Miro seems to be the best in class for that kind of stuff at the moment. That Google's Jamboard is sort of the equivalent, which is terrible. It's worse than shoving a webcam on a piece of paper and drawing, from my experience. Except that you can bring Google Docs straight into it.
That's something, isn't it? So, John, would you say they've responded quite well to the, like, they've been really responsive and lean to the sort of problems with lockdowns and COVID and remote working, where they've just been like improved. You've seen loads of changes this year, sort of thing.
Yeah, and they've got stuff in for doing a presentation in the thing, and quite a lot in versioning. So when I go back so I have a collaborator that I work with. We just have a shared Miro page, and when I go in, it says these are the changes that the other person has made since you were last here, which is like 2 weeks ago. And I go, this person's been doing some interesting stuff. It's sort of just an ideas board that we're sharing. It tells me this is the new stuff. So the pricing seems to be pretty reasonable, but so far.
You've got Miro Lite now, that basically you can even use it without license. So they're trying really to extend it, so it's great tools. With this year, we're using it so much. So I don't know how we will have done it without, to be honest. So.
Wow. Okay, that's good. Any more questions or thoughts from that? I did eat before you did your talk, which I'm glad I did after I saw that spaghetti at the beginning. I'm just going to press